Welcome back, everybody, to Boxing on the Edge. I hope everyone's doing well. We have a pretty good fight this Friday. Jose Ramirez takes on Jose Pedraza at 140 pounds. This is a very interesting fight, very good fight. Jose Ramirez is coming off that loss to Josh Taylor, where he looked quite poor. Taylor looked very good, to be fair. And then I don't know if you guys caught Taylor at the weekend, that he looked awful. So anyway, Ramirez, this is a tough fight. He's fighting Jose Pedraza. Curious selection, to be honest with you, because Pedraza can go southpaw and is rangy, and he's more of a boxer than Josh Taylor. He's smarter. He's got all the tools set up to cause Ramirez all sorts of problems. So, but the winner of this fight, surely will go on to maybe even challenge for a world title. It's that quick back up to the top if you take a risk. Ramirez, like I said, just lost to Taylor, and you seem like a loss can just take you so far out of the picture. But if you get back with the right fighter and you take the risk and you get the reward, you can be back in the mix just as quick as you went out of it. So, but Jose Ramirez does have his work cut out. But let's start with Ramirez. He's a strong-willed. He seems like he's got some good power too. He was a former world champion, former unified champion actually. He had his moments where he was running through people, and he looks strong and he's determined. But he does have, I think, some major issues that are going to really be a big fundamental problem in this fight, and that's his footwork. He's trained by Robert Garcia over there in California. Good trainer. They have a good team up there. They have a good group of champions and fighters, and training in that kind of energy is always a good thing. So he's in good hands, but his trainers can't fight for him. So how will he bounce back? He took that defeat quite badly, as you would expect, but some fighters take it worse than others. So is he going to be able to bounce back? Is he gonna be in a mindset of really trying to go too hard? Because when you're trying to fight a boxer that's smarter and you're using that emotion and that energy, that could be the wrong thing to do. So Ramirez has got a bit of Olympic background too, but his footwork does worry me. Because Pedraza, we'll talk about him now, has very good footwork, a very good boxing brain. He can switch southpaw, which he does to an effect. When people switch, sometimes it doesn't really work out, or it just sort of stays in an even keel. But Pedraza can use it to his advantage. He's very rangy. In fact, in the tail of the tape, we'll take a quick look at that. I actually thought Pedraza had longer arms, but apparently not. BoxRec is saying that Ramirez is longer and taller, which really surprised me. But I think it's the way they fight. Ramirez kind of hunches down a little bit, appears to not really fully extend his arms, whereas Pedraza does, and he fights what looks like to be a little bit taller, and he's going to need to do that. But Pedraza, former two-time world champion, he was a champ at 130 and 135. He's got plenty of experience, fought some really good fighters. Obviously, he lost to Lomachenko. I lost to Tank Davis, which I was actually fortunate enough to be at that fight. I thought Pedraza's head was going to end up in the stands right next to me because he got hit so hard. But he's a tough guy. Barring that knockout defeat to Tank, he's I think his other loss was to Jose Zepeda, which they both have that's their common opponent. And I think Ramirez beat Zepeda on his way up, actually. Yeah, he did. And so that's interesting there. But Pedraza's been in there with some top guys. He really has. He's fought at world level. He's been a world champion a couple times. He's very experienced. He's been around the ring. He knows what to do. So let's talk about the fight. And break it down a little bit, you know, obviously Ramirez, from what I've seen, really only knows how to fight one way, despite his Olympic background. He's obviously a pressure fighter, likes to come forward and put pressure on his opponent and set his feet and smash the body and let his hands go when he's got his opponent in an area where he can let his hands go. So I can only expect Ramirez to do that. Perhaps not straight out of the gate, but you know, pressure fighters tend to heat up a little bit. But I have a feeling he'll look to get going early. You don't want to let a boxer pick up too much momentum and confidence and groove and rhythm. You know, and Pedraza's a rhythm fighter, you know. He's got this like loosey-goosey, jucking and jiving, you know, dancing around, switching left and right, throwing jabs out, different tempos, moving his head. He's a good fighter. So I can see that being the fight for most of it, really. Like Ramirez putting the pressure on, trying to pin Pedraza down, trying to back him up, get him on the ropes, obviously attack the body to slow Pedraza down. That's typically a tactic when you're fighting a mover. Hit that body, and Ramirez is a fantastic body puncher. You just got to be there for it to be hit. And you know, boxing is a complicated sport, but sometimes it's really simple. And like, if you're Pedraza, all you got to really do is just move. Move and jab. Boom, move, jab, move, jab. Obviously, that's far easier, you know, said than done. But the blueprint is really there. Ramirez's feet, like I said, are very clumsy, and he needs his feet to be set for him to have an impact with his punches. So don't let him set his feet. That's it. Fight over. Now Pedraza's he's gonna have to work very hard, and he's going to have to use his jab, like I said, keep moving and just box beautifully. Use his IQ. Pedraza can fight a little bit on the inside, but I wouldn't recommend him doing that. He might have to at some spurts in this fight. And you know, at some point when you have a pressure fight, you just have to face the music. You have to fight sometimes. You know, have to. But at some point, if the pressure fight is good enough, you're going to have to exchange a little bit. You know, and Pedraza's, you know, he's not a fish out of water when he's in that position. He knows how to do it, but that's not in his best interest. So I do see that fight going like that for the majority of it. I think Pedraza's going to have a lot of success moving and getting some momentum, jabbing, switch hitting, changing up his tempo of his shots. And I think really, I think Pedraza was labelled the underdog here, but you know, I honestly see him pulling up a bit of an upset. If you base it on his last few performances, he's looked pretty good. And the stylistic matchup again is quite shocking that they would choose Pedraza right after losing to, you know, Josh Taylor has similar attributes. I'm not saying they're similar fighters, but there's some similarities with the way they throw their jabs out and the length and the range, and you know, Pedraza doesn't have the same pop, but he's smarter. So if you watch that tape, you just gotta look, let's just move around the ring a little bit. So I'm actually going to back Pedraza on a close points decision. You know, maybe a majority decision or something like that. I think Pedraza's tough as well. You know, and I think he's having a mini resurgence again. You know, you can't. I love fighters that just do that. I love it, man. I love fighters that keep going and keep giving all to the sport. Ramirez is like that too. This is why it's going to be a good fight. It could be, you know, he could get diffused a little bit, Ramirez, which might make it not as entertaining, but it's still, when you have that, you know, tightrope that you're walking on with a pressure fighter, it's interesting. So for me anyway. So I'm going to go with I guess an upset, even though I don't know how they came up with, I guess, it makes sense. But I'm going to pick Pedraza. I think Pedraza's going to nick a 12-round majority, maybe even a split. And yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting, intriguing fight with moments of, you know, Ramirez having some success, but enough to win rounds, perhaps not. I think Pedraza's IQ, I think his range, his boxing ability, his heart, he's a tough guy, like I said, is gonna overcome the will and the power of Ramirez. So interesting fight. I hope both guys, you know, come out healthy as always, and I look forward to the fight. That is this Friday. The fight is this Friday, and if you also have any comments to say about the fight, I'd love to hear it, because I can see an argument for Ramirez pulling off, you know, I wouldn't say a stoppage, but I can see him doing some damage at some point and having his way, but enough, I'm not sure. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the fight. Fight's on Friday. Boxing on the Edge. Take care of yourself.